Mariah, your Dairy State vegan, and today's recipe is brought to you by my son, who decided to scare us with a little ER visit today. He's okay, but it turns out my 10-year-old has croup, which is super weird, but I guess it can happen. So today I'm gonna make my recipe for Feel Better soup. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these dried shiitake mushrooms and I'm going to rehydrate them in about 2 cups of hot water. Mushrooms have a ton of healing properties, but my son and my husband both hate them, so making a broth out of them is a good way to get all those nutrients in. Then while those are starting soaking, I'm just gonna get everything I need in place, also known as mise en place. As you can tell, I don't know where everything in my kitchen is because we just moved, but it's always good to just get everything you need out and ready so that you can work more effectively. If you take 5 minutes just to kind of organize yourself, you'll thank yourself later in the cooking process. So once everything's in place, I'm just gonna start peeling and chopping my veg. You know the base to any good soup is gonna be carrots, onion, and celery. So I just get everything set up. I'm gonna peel about 6 carrots. Now, even though I have a small family of 3, I don't know how to cook small amounts of food. So this pot of soup I made feeds about 8, which is perfect because we had plenty of leftovers for lunches and everything else for my husband and my poor sick kiddo. Once my carrots are peeled, I realized I forgot my onion. Shout out to the hubby behind the camera for throwing it to me. You'll see that kind of becomes a theme during this video. I don't know why we were so entertained by it, but we were. Carrots are one of the vegetables my son actually really loves. So I like to put a ton in there. The other thing about soups is they're just a really good way to get kids who don't really love vegetables to eat a ton of vegetables without even knowing it. As Cody's gotten older, he's gotten much better at eating vegetables, but when he was younger, all he would eat, I swear, were baby carrots and raw spinach. His palate's gotten better since then. He still won't eat Brussels sprouts though. So I'm just gonna chop my carrots, kind of a rough chop. I don't want them too thin because I don't want them to get too soft in the soup. But I don't want them too big because I don't want the soup to take forever to cook down either. And same with my onion. I'm just gonna chop it kind of roughly, small enough to not be huge chunks of onions like you'd get in chili, but not so small that they're undetectable. Also, usually I use a garbage bowl and I throw all my plant matter into a bowl, but I couldn't find one. So I'm using my sink and I'll just clean out my sink later. Cody on this day pretty much has just eaten popsicles all day because they told us at the hospital that really cold things will actually help calm down his cough, and he had the worst cough all day. So this will be the first warm meal he has today. So once my onions are chopped, I'm going to chop up some celery. Now you'll see I'm only using 2 stalks of celery here. That's because I personally don't love the flavor of celery. I think it's a jerk and it just takes over the whole dish, and then I spend all my time trying to get all these wonderful flavors out of food and all I taste is celery. However, if you like celery, I would probably use about 4 stalks. I just go shy because I don't like it. So once everything's nice and chopped, I'm gonna heat up my pan with a little bit of olive oil so I can get my vegetables in there nice and low, simmering until they get somewhat translucent and sweat out all those beautiful flavors. While I was doing this, I told my husband I really need one of those silicone cutting boards that you can fold up because I made a little bit of a mess trying to get all my veggies into the pot. And that's it. I'm gonna add a little seasoning, a little salt, a little pepper, a little garlic. Sorry about the pause there. So here's another tip for garlic. You don't need to like be super delicate with it. Actually, if you smash it, it's easier to peel it. And we all know garlic doesn't develop its flavor unless it's crushed at least a little. So I had my husband throw me my awesome Pampered Chef garlic shaver. If you guys don't have one of these, I highly recommend getting one. I've used mine for about the past 8 years. Garlic is so sticky when you try and chop it, and the shaver makes it super easy. So I use it every single time I need garlic in anything. And then I'm also gonna add ginger. He's sick, and ginger is really good, tons of healing properties. So I ended up adding about 2 tablespoons of ginger to that amount of veg. And then I stir that in. Now the trick with garlic is you don't want to add your garlic until after you have your other vegetables, because if you add your garlic first, it's going to end up burning, which is why I put in my other veggies and then I waited to add the garlic. So now that we have this all in there, it's going to sit for about 30 minutes. And voila! That's what it should look like for you to start building your soup. So here I just added a little bit of vegan butter. I did this because I'm going to make a somewhat roux type substance. My son likes soups better if they tend to be creamier, and this is just a way to make a creamy like soup without making cream. So I just did about a tablespoon of vegan butter and 3 tablespoons of flour right into my veg, and I mixed it up so it got really well incorporated. And this is just going to help thicken the soup and give it the consistency of a cream soup without having to go through all the work of making like a cashew cream, because on this day I had a sick kid and I just didn't have that much time. So now I'm going to drain my mushroom water directly into the pot, and then I'm also going to add 2 containers of vegetable stock. Like I said, this was a really big pot of soup. You could cut everything in half if you're making it for a smaller family. Also, I use 2 containers of vegetable stock because I'll be adding rice to this soup. If you prefer to not add rice, or if you don't cook your rice into your soup, you definitely can cut this in half. And then I also like to add lemon to my soups. So I squeezed 2 lemons worth of fresh lemon juice into my soup here. It's got good vitamin C, but it just adds a really nice acidity and depth of flavor to the broth. As you can see, I use this little colander for almost everything. It's probably my most used kitchen tool. I just use it here so I don't have to worry about seeds going into the soup, but I still get all that lemony juice out. We're gonna let this simmer as it is for a little bit on its own. And while that's simmering and kind of melding together in flavor, I'm going to take my rehydrated shiitake mushrooms and chop them into large chunks. You can cut these chunks smaller. My husband and my son do not like mushrooms, so I like to keep the chunks big enough that they can pick them out and give them all to me. Now with shiitake mushrooms, you have to take the stems out. The stems are really woody and not edible, so that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just cutting around the stems. And these haven't fully rehydrated, so they were a little tough, but they rehydrated once they cooked in the soup. As you can see, I took a shower and made a little wardrobe change, by the way, when everything was simmering. So I added my mushrooms, and now it's time to add the basmati rice. You can add whatever rice you like. I just really like basmati rice or jasmine rice. I think they're really yummy. So I added 2 cups of basmati rice uncooked to this broth. When you add it uncooked, you need to make sure it has about 45 minutes to cook the rice. If you don't have that time, make sure you cook your rice ahead of time. And then I'm just gonna season the broth to taste with a little salt and pepper. This doesn't need a ton of different seasonings because you have so many flavorful foods in there. Then 2 cups of cannellini beans, or not 2 cups, 2 cans, I'm sorry, are gonna go right into the pot. You can use any beans you like. Cannellini beans have a creamy texture, and my family really enjoys them in soup. But you could use garbanzo, you could use pinto, you could use lima beans, whatever your little heart desires. So this is our soup building up. The rice has not cooked yet, so you won't see it fully absorbed. And then at the very end, I put in about 2 cups of kale, and I'm cutting in some parsley. Parsley has a lot of really good cleansing properties, great for when you're sick, but also a good flavor. And then I'm also gonna add a little almond milk at the end. Whoops, forgot to open it. So the almond milk is gonna give it more of a creamy look. And that's how you have it. So let me know if you try this recipe in the comments down below. If you have a sick family or it's just a cold day, this is the perfect meal. And thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget, if you liked it, to like this video, comment, and subscribe.